On this Gun Talk Hunt, we've got Andrew Maxwell of the Southern Outdoorsmen Podcast talking Southeastern deer hunting tactics.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome in all you Gun Talk hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and with me is Andrew Maxwell of the Southern Outdoorsmen Podcast and, YouTube show. You guys got it everywhere. But this episode is brought to you by SnapSafe, Timney Triggers, Range Ready Studios, Remington Ammo, and Savage Arms. Thank you for all those guys. Andrew, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing great, man. Just trying to survive this summer.
Man, I have a feeling that we're getting into that time of the year where everybody's like, okay, is it time to get down in the at least low 80s?
I wish.
I know.
I wish. Actually, I just got back from North Carolina, and it was like 78 degrees up there during the day, up in the high country. I didn't want to come back.
No, I wouldn't want to come back. I mean, we're down here. We're sucked into the ginormous heat dome, and it's 120 degrees out and 100% humidity. I'll pass on that. But so we want to start talking a little bit about I want to start opening up about who the Southern Outdoorsman is and where did that all come from. Talk a little bit about your background too, man.
So, born and raised in Alabama, grew up hunting here in some local WMAs and some clubs. Always been a deer hunter, but we also grew up small game hunting, dove, squirrel, rabbit, you name it. Didn't start hunting turkey till a little bit later, but when I was a kid, I grew up around a lot of deer hunters, but I was never mentored by really great hunters. My dad, he was more of a small game guy because back when he was growing up, there wasn't that many deer in Alabama. It was most of the guys around him were small game guys just because the whitetail opportunity wasn't there. Yeah. So fast forward, my dad, he deer hunted when we were kids, but he wasn't very good at it. God bless him. He just wasn't very good at it. We always had a lot of success squirrel hunting and stuff, but man, the deer, it was tough. When I was 14, he ended up passing away unexpectedly. And I was lucky enough to have one of my best friends in school at the time. His dad was a big deer hunter. And that guy, Ben George, he's a woodsman. We use that term a lot. He just understands the woods and how the critters act. And we always make the joke he'd kill a deer in a Walmart parking lot. So after I started hunting with them, he started mentoring me a little bit more. And I would go to their club with them and hunt. And when I turned 16 and got my driver's license, I was itching to go, but I could only go when they invited me. So I started going back out to the local WMA. And I mean, man, if there was like you could make a comedy show out of those first years when I was hunting, when I was like 16 and 17. It was bad. Didn't know what I was doing. And fast forward a couple more years, I kept getting further and further into it. And I wanted to start doing outdoor writing one day. That's kind of what I wanted my career to be.
Right.
And I was writing locally for a magazine called AON, Alabama Outdoor News, and Georgia Outdoor News. And I was just doing like hunt reports, like, hey, the white oaks are dropping this week in Shelby County, whatever. And I couldn't get into any like premium print magazines because I was like 18, had no business writing for any magazine like that. But I still wanted to practice, and keep writing. So I started my own blog, and it's called the Southern Outdoorsman. And the idea was just publish articles so I could have a portfolio and I could get reps and whatnot. And that pretty quickly evolved into the Southern Outdoorsman Podcast. My best friend, Jacob Myers, started it with me. And that's kind of the birth of the Southern Outdoorsman. Is we started that in February of 2018, basically as something that, as a resource that we wished that we had. There were some other hunting podcasts at the time, but none of them were focused on the Southeast. And so we're like, well, we know some really good deer hunters. Let's just try to interview them and let's just make it a podcast. Right. And so that's kind of where it came from.
That's awesome. Man, I will tell you, having hunted in a lot of different states, the Southeast seems to be one of those areas that is increasingly difficult for hunters to master. At least from my point of view, like if you can master hunting in the Southeast, especially for whitetails, I really feel like those skills are transferable across the country to pursue whitetails.
Oh yeah, that's we joke about it all the time. We're like, man, if you could kill a buck in Alabama, you can kill one anywhere, you know. And I do think that's true. I really do, because down here, one reason that the Midwestern stuff was never relatable to us is because they'd be writing about this bean field, that, you know, you got to go glass the back of the bean field. You got to find, I'm like, I don't even know what a soybean plant looks like. Legitimately, when we started the podcast, I didn't know what a bean looked like a soybean plant. And so it was just totally unrelatable. I'm like, all we have is pine trees and, you know, little skinny creek bottoms that have some white oaks in them, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd turn out, like, if you captured a deer in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, any of those, and you turned them loose to where I hunt in Oklahoma, they drive themselves crazy looking for a tree. I mean, anything to hide behind, because they can slip in and slip out, and that's one of the toughest things is finding travel corridors and areas which you know that there's deer there, and holds deer, because they could be anywhere.
Yeah, and that's where the woodsmanship comes in.
Yeah,
understanding what the habitat is, how the deer use it, how to read the sign, because most of the time you're not seeing the deer until it's standing in front of you in bow range or rifle range. You know, we don't have a lot of opportunities to go out and glass deer and put eyes on them before a hunt, and that's one thing that they've got in the Midwest. Is all my Midwestern buddies right now in late July, they're driving around, they're looking at bean fields, and they're finding their target bucks. That just doesn't happen down here.
Your target buck is in the Southeast is the one that shows up on the day that has some maturity on the hoof. Like, that's just how you find them. Or maybe they cross the road in front of your truck as you're driving in. But man, or how much are you using trail cameras nowadays? How has that changed your scouting approach? Because that's the only way you can really do it.
Yeah, I use trail cameras quite a bit now. I don't necessarily hunt off of them. I usually use them just to find bucks, like just to put myself in an area where I know there's a really nice buck that I want to have a chance at. I usually don't kill him, but, you know, I at least see what's there, and I'm in the area that I want to be in.
Yeah, that's how, if you're using, and see, that's where a lot of guys get it wrong, is when they start setting up those trail cameras, what I find they do most of the times is they're setting them on like that food source out in Texas, Oklahoma, you know, a lot of those states that you can plant a feeder at. They will set it right at the feeder, and whenever it's coming in, that's when it goes. Then all of a sudden hunting season starts, you start hunting the feeder, and you're like, where'd that buck go? Like, well, yeah, you are in its area. Like, they know, they understand. But they need to use cameras to hunt off of, just like what you said. Just, you know, he's in the area. Now let's pick the terrain features, go off the terrain features and the funnels that are pushing them through there. That's every big buck I get on camera. They're always at night. And why do you think that is? You got to think. Well, why aren't you getting any day pictures of this buck? Because he's got to be somewhere in the day, right?
Oh yeah, and we like putting our cameras on scrapes for that reason. Most of the places we hunt, usually it's public, sometimes it's clubs. You can't put out any bait or anything like that. You could find a food plot and put a camera on it, but I like finding a scrape close to cover that I can put a camera on, and it doesn't matter what time of year it is. The bucks are going to be coming by that scrape. Like right now in July, I've got several cameras up on scrapes. And the bucks still come by. They don't paw the ground out, but they work the licking branch. Yep. And so that's how we get our buck inventory. And I have killed some bucks over those scrapes over the years, but usually you're just, like you said, you're killing them in the vicinity of the scrape. You know, you might not be right on top of it, but you can kind of put two and two together. You're like, oh, he's coming to this scrape. And a lot of times if you're close to cover and you're in a good area, you do get daytime pictures of them. But you can kind of put two and two together and say, okay, well, here's a thicket over here. You know, there's a big oak flat over there. Here's a scrape in the middle, and just start putting it together from there. I mean, it's hard, but it's not complicated.
No, don't overrun the cameras either. I mean, you start running like 50, 60 cameras, and I'm going to like those guys, I'm like, man, what are you trying to prove? Like, I don't, like, who has money for all that? All those batteries. Like, anyway, so let's talk a little bit about, you know, finding, because you're a big public land hunter. Like, that's kind of where you guys really strive and thrive within those environments. what would you say are like 4 like processes that you guys use to identify like the areas to hunt on public ground?
Well, first and foremost, it starts with habitat. Typically what we're looking for, no matter where we go, it doesn't matter if we're in Alabama, Georgia, or Kansas, we look for habitat diversity. So I want to find where it's not just one type of cover. I want to find where there's multiple kinds of cover coming together. And I mean, really, I don't want to say that's the end all be all, but if that's the only thing that you took away from the conversation, that's a really good tip. Like down here in pine country, it might all be pine trees, but it's not a monoculture of all the same age pine trees. You might have some young pines that are thick underneath. You might have some big, giant, mature pines that are open underneath. You might have some pines that have been select cut that have a nice understory. Yeah. And once you start identifying all those different wood blocks and going to the areas where they meet and looking at those edges, that's when you're going to start finding deer. So that's first and foremost. Second, if I'm in an area that has terrain, I'm going to look for terrain features, your saddles, bowls. Some people call them thermal hubs. We grew up calling them bowls, which is just where multiple creek drainages all meet together. Yeah. So after I find the habitat that I want, then I start looking for the terrain features. And then after that, it's boots on the ground scouting, your typical whitetail stuff, identify the bedding, identify the food. And sometimes in the Southeast, well, actually most of the time in the Southeast, that's very intertwined. Yeah. Like that pine thicket that they're bedding in is also basically a food plot. They can eat in the pine thicket. They don't really have to come out of it, which makes it tough. But I mean, honestly, those are the 2 starting points. You can get kind of in the weeds with like trying to avoid pressure and identify where people are going to go. But as a starting point, looking for an area to start, just look for habitat diversity first, and then look for your terrain features. Find the diversity, find the cover, then look for the terrain features.
Yeah, I had it's funny you mentioned that because I used to call them bowls too. And I've always been, if you can find a good bowl or thermal hub, like if you can find it, there's always typically one tree within that area that I feel like bucks just gravitate around. Like it's like that's their needle. Like, and I've had that on several different properties that I've hunted over the years that I'm like, if I can find that hub and I find that one tree, and if I hang in that tree and it's a good wind, you have to hunt it at the right wind, but there is a better than like 70% chance you're going to shoot something out of that tree. And I don't know what it was about those trees, but it was just like always that one, because you'd sit back there and you'd watch. You go, like, they all, like, that's that one tree. They'll either pass it or something. But that's the one thing that I noticed that kept me intrigued about those, like, hub areas, the bowls, is that if you can find, there's going to be one tree in there that's going to be a consistent producer.
Yeah, a lot of times, I call that a focal point. It's just where those deer don't have onX. They're following trails or they're using visual landmarks. And I've even seen this in South Alabama where you get in those longleaf pine savannas, and it'll be as far as you can see. You probably have this in Louisiana too. Yeah. Big longleaf pine savannas, flat as a pancake, nothing out there but a bunch of telephone pole pine trees, maybe some tall grass. And you'll see it where there'll be like a fallen tree in the middle of it. And it's like every deer that crosses that field walks around the front of that fallen tree. Yeah. And for years, I'm like, why do they do that? And I literally think they get out there and they're looking and they're like, oh, there's that tree. And that's like their little visual landmark that they use.
That's funny. I never thought about them doing that because, I just thought it was, well, it's always natural. But you think about it and you go into these deer bedding areas or you go out to hunt, you're going into their house. Like, that's their house. So if you were walking through your house and you had your eyes closed and then you open them, you'd know exactly where you're at. They're the same way. Like they're looking off those landmarks. I've never really thought about it that way because they don't have onX, which I mean is a great segue into my next thing. How much does digital scouting help you determine where you want to focus your attention on public land?
Man, it helps a ton, and it's because really at the end of the day, you have to go put boots on the ground and scout it. you can get to where you can hunt blind and you can find a spot on the map and go to it and it's good. But most of the time you've got to put boots on the ground. But we've all got limited time to do that.
Yeah.
And where the e-scouting has helped me is I can identify the areas that I think are going to hold deer and I can go straight to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a dud, sometimes it's not, and I can go on to the next one, right? So that's where the habitat thing comes in that I mentioned earlier, is if I can go and I can identify, like, okay, this stand looks like it's probably going to be thick underneath based on what I see on the satellite image. I can see the crowns of the trees. They're separated. I can see the individual trees in like a pine plantation. It doesn't look like a green carpet where you can't see through the canopy at all. If I see that and I'm like, okay, there's probably some good cover underneath there. So then I can go straight to that spot and I can run those edges. I might not walk around the middle of it, but I can walk those edges and I can find the scrapes, the rubs, the trails coming out of it and be efficient with my time and just hit that spot, check it, go to the next one.
Man, that's one of the most biggest things about scouting, especially boots on the ground, is being efficient with your time. That's a great tip, man. Just scout the edges, because you're going to find what you want to hunt. Like, you can find what you want to hunt, and whether or not you have to go in, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, exactly. And most of the time, you end up killing the deer on those edges.
Yeah,
you don't have to go into that thicket. They're going to come out of it or run the edge of it. Especially in the rut, those bucks, man, they'll either be coming in and out or they'll be running that edge. Yeah. And those are some of our best spots are just thick edges where maybe two edges meet. Yeah. Like maybe you've got, like, one of my favorite setups is where you find maybe a clear cut that's like 5 years old and it's just like dog hair thick. Like, don't even try to walk into it. Where that meets some thinned pines. Maybe these pines are like 20 years old. They're maybe about 10 inches around, but they've come through and they've thinned it, meaning they've cut out like a certain number of those trees to open the canopy. Yeah. Well, then the understory of that's also going to be kind of thick, but it's going to be a different vegetation component than that 5-year-old clear cut, right? Yeah. And then maybe adjoining both of those, there's another pine stand, and maybe that one hadn't been thinned yet, and it's that green carpet I was talking about. Those canopies are all touching, they're all intertwined. There's no sunlight getting to the forest floor, and it's like a pine straw desert under there. Yeah. There's nothing. Well, if you can sit where those three meet, that's usually a pretty good spot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like it. Hey, Andrew, we're going to hang on real quick because we're going to jump into a break real quick from our sponsors. On the other side of this, I want to talk about your minimalist setup. I want to find out if you're a saddle hunter or if you're a hang-on stand guy or if you're just straight from the ground. So hang on right after these words. When it comes to securing your gear, firearms, and valuables, peace of mind starts with SnapSafe. This is a Hornady company. We love these because they keep our firearms safe, especially with me traveling on the road so much. Their Trunk Safe 2 is something I trust to put my firearm in. It's not going to rattle around all the spots that I don't want it to because it's secured within my truck. So if you're looking to go on the road or secure your firearms safe at home, check out SnapSafe. Tired of your range time being just mag dumps and Instagram flexing? Enter Range Ready Training, where Director of Awesomeness and everything else, Chris Serino, turns keyboard warriors into actual warriors. Or something like that. Pretty dang close, I would say. Yeah, the guy's been there, done that. Pistol, check. Rifle, check. Yeah, we got it all. Force on force, we do that every now and then too. Bring your bruises, instructor development. Welcome to the Thunderdome of learning. It's more than training, it's range ready because real life doesn't come with a respawn button. Feel like your trigger's holding you back more than your ex? Fix that with the Timney Alpha competition trigger for the Ruger RXM. It's got a crisp 3-pound pull, no adjustments, no drama, just pure, smooth performance. It installs easier than IKEA furniture and comes fully hand-assembled, tested, and calibrated by real humans, not robots or over-caffeinated raccoons. Made in the USA and backed by a legendary lifetime warranty, yes, it will make you more accurate. The rest is on you. Looking to level up your hunt and tighten up those groups? Well, look no further than Remington Ammo. Yeah, the stuff in the green box is super accurate, and they've got everything from hunting ammo all the way to NRL like match ammo. So check those out. Remington Premier, from Premier Tip AccuTip to match grade ammunition, all in that green box you love, you trust, and you adore. Find it all at remington.com. Looking to trim a few LBs out of your pack or just your firearm? Check out the Savage 110 Carbon Predator. 2 swing swivel studs, matte black carbon steel receiver, 2-piece Weaver style bases, proof research barrel. Yeah, it's carbon wrap, so that's where some of the weight savings is going to come. And you won't be disappointed because they offer it in a lot of different variations. 6mm arc, 223 Remington, 22-250, a favorite of mine, 308, 65 Creedmoor, and 300 Blackout. Now, you're talking about weight. You're talking about, well, how much really is it going to weigh? Trust me, you're going to be able to carry this thing all day. It's under that 7-pound range, so I promise you it's accurate too. So trust Savage 110 Carbon Predator for all your weight savings. All right, we're back with Andrew Maxwell, and hey, we are talking about public land hunting, how to get out there, how to maximize your time. Now let's talk about the gear to get you out there. Andrew, what are you hunting with? Bow hunting, rifle hunting, muzzleloader, everything. So what's your setup look like?
For getting in a tree or my weapon
For getting in the tree.
Okay. It depends on the situation. I like a little bit of everything. I've got a climber, I've got lock-ons, I've got saddles. I usually find myself in a saddle just because it's, lightweight, quick, easy to carry, pretty easy to get in a tree with. But it's just a tool in the toolbox for me. I'm not die hard on anything. There's certain situations where I might want to be in a lock-on where instead of facing the tree like you do in a saddle, I'm instead sitting in the tree facing out. And usually that's when I'm in a real limby tree, like a cedar or something like that. And where it's just going to be easier to put my back to the tree and shoot out of the canopy rather than have all that crap in front of me when I'm sitting in the saddle. So it just depends on the situation. What I have started doing a lot more now, I have a climber, but I haven't used it in 2 or 3 years because I started one sticking, which a lot of people think is ridiculous.
It's not.
I was one of those people. I thought it was the stupidest thing I'd ever seen. But the thing about the one stick is I can climb any tree to any height. As long as I've got the rope long enough to rappel out of it, I can climb literally to the top of a pine tree, like the top of the pine tree if I want to. And for rifle hunting, dude, that's money.
Oh, yeah, because you add distance. So, okay, here's a really good question. When you one stick it and you're going up high into a tree, what are you using for support for the gun? Are you just shooting offhand?
Usually I'm shooting off the tree, so I'll have my bridge and tether set in a way where I can get a hand on the tree and rest my rifle on that. That's one way you can shoot. You can also I'll hang my backpack on the tree in front of me and have the backpack hanging like right there at the perfect height, so I can rest my rifle across the backpack. Yeah. There's other ways that you can brace your arm on the bridge like this and shoot off your arm. Yeah. So when I first started saddle hunting, I was not confident at all in shooting a rifle out of it. But Jacob, my co-host and co-owner of the podcast, he's really good at it. He showed me how to do it, and now I feel very confident shooting at distance out of a saddle. Yeah. You just got to make sure your gear is dialed, and if you are thinking about getting into that, you need to get in your saddle with a gun and I would recommend shooting out of it, but you can dry fire out of it, whatever you got to do. If you just are in the backyard, might get some weird looks from your neighbors, but
that's okay.
Get up in that tree, and you don't even have to get 20 feet up. Just get up at ground level. Yeah. Figure out where your bridge and your tether needs to be, how long they need to be to get comfortable and get to where you can get a hand on that tree and rest your rifle on your hand against the tree, off the bridge, off your backpack, whatever the case may be.
I'm telling you, that's one thing that a lot of guys take for granted is they get this setup, they get a nice setup, a saddle setup, then they go out in the woods, and it's like the first day they really set it up and they really hunt with it is the day they go out. And that's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for missed deer. And that's tough, man. When you drop a shot on a big buck, it's a gut punch, and what would have fixed it. was preparation in the whole thing.
Oh yeah, like my stepdad, we're having this conversation with him as he gets more into saddle hunting. I'm like, dude, he's got property he can shoot on. I'm like, get up in that saddle with a 22 and just shoot pine cones, like whatever you got to do. Like get up in that thing and shoot it multiple angles. 22's easy. It's cheap ammo, and just practice, because you don't want to scout all summer on all fall. And then you finally get that deer in front of you, and you just can't make it happen. I've been there. I mean, that's happened to me several times.
Oh yeah,
and it's because I didn't practice like I should have.
Oh, it just kills me. It's like when I go to a competition or something like that, and I've had all this time to lead up to like practice and do really well, and I get to the competition. I'm like, well, why am I shooting so bad? Well, you could have practiced, and it always falls on my shoulders is what it is, and it's an unfortunate spot that you're in, because you're like, you put so much heart and effort into preparing, but you don't prepare in the right way. It's like going out and buying a brand new gun and saying, man, I'm good now. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that.
Oh yeah.
Let's jump into like some memorable hunts for you, and is there anything that stands out to a memorable buck when it comes, like everything just happens to come together? Is there any stories that you've got like that?
Oh yeah, we had a hunt a couple years ago, me and Jacob, where we were hunting some public ground here in Alabama, and it was a draw hunt. So you get limited time on the property. You get 3.5 days to hunt it, or no, you get 3 full days to hunt it. You get Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. So it equals 3 full days.
Right.
But we'd been out there, man, and we were just getting our tails handed to us. We weren't seeing that many deer. And it's a really good property. Like, we should have been seeing some deer. It was on the very, very, very front end of the rut. This was like around January 9th. And in that particular area, the rut's more mid-January. So you're kind of right there. We're on the front edge of it. It's getting going, but it's not wide open yet.
Yeah.
And we just walked all day, literally walked all day, just trying to find deer, because we weren't seeing anything up to that point. This was Friday, this was Saturday, so time's running out.
Yeah.
So we come around this ridge, and we get to this spot, and I peek over my binos, and I see 2 does down in this oak creek bottom, down in a bowl. And I'm like, okay, there's does. We're climbing right here. Because this, start of the rut, and I'm like, this is as good as we found so far. We were seeing some buck sign, so we jack up a tree, and I'm shooting, Jacob's filming, and it gets to be about dark, and the biggest buck I've ever had an opportunity at starts walking up that thermal hub. I couldn't see it. Jacob was in a different tree than I was.
Oh.
And Jacob's like, hey, there's a buck coming, shoot her. And this place has pretty stringent antler requirements, so if it's a shooter, it's a good deer.
Right.
And I'm waiting. I'm like, look, and I can't see it. And Jacob turns to me. He's like, Andrew, this is the biggest deer you're ever going to shoot. And so now I'm like, okay,
Why do
like
you put
ever
that
going to shoot
pressure
or
on
have
you?
ever shot? Because those are probably 2 different things. And finally, I get to see the deer, and now I'm shook up. And man, he walks out perfect, like 110 yards, wide open, works a scrape. And I whiffed on him with a rifle, shot over his back. He runs and stops, shoot again, miss again. I missed the deer 4 times.
Oh.
I missed him 4 times. So I'm about ready to jump out of the tree at this point. And we get down, and I'm pretty down in the dumps. And Jacob's like, hey, let's just go back there tomorrow. Like, he was in there for a reason. So I was like, okay, whatever. Last morning of the hunt, we go in there the next morning, and man, it's probably 7 a.m., and we hear crashing coming right down from in the bowl, just like the morning before.
Yeah.
And we look over, and here comes a doe. She's getting chased by a buck. Not a legal buck, but rack buck, decent deer, but not something we were going to shoot. And then here comes another buck, and another buck, and another buck. There's 5 bucks chasing her and just going crazy. They were snort wheezing. They were fighting.
Jeez.
One of them ended up breeding the doe. And I think one of them was a shooter, but it was like such chaos I couldn't get on him.
Yeah.
And so they all move out. I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling real good, because I know if that doe's an estrus and they're all chasing her, that she just laid a trail that more bucks are going to follow. Dude, it wasn't 10 minutes. And here comes a nice 10-point. And he walks right into the same gap where I missed the one the day before, and I whiff on him again. And he runs and stops, and then I hammer him on the second shot.
Okay. All right.
And I get it. Yeah, I know. I built you up there. And I hammer him on the second shot. He runs off and dies, and I'm freaking out. And it's on the video. I look at Jacob. I'm like, that was terrible. Like, what's wrong with me? Because we had just been talking about, I hadn't missed a deer with a rifle in like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I just came apart. Well, then, that doe had run through there earlier. And so Jacob still had a tag. So he's like, give me your gun. You take the camera. We're staying. So I was like, okay. So
Smart man.
We switch. And probably half an hour later, here comes another mature buck. Jacob shoots it, doubled. Just like that. That's like the craziest rut hunt we've ever had, man. That's like the kind of hunt that you just live for.
Yeah.
That you wait every year. You hope for a hunt like that, and every once in a while you get one.
Every once in a while you'll get them, but they're not that often. They're not as often as hunting shows depict them to be. Like I would just say that. Like when you're on public ground, like those days are few and far between, I find.
Oh yeah, man. I could go down a rabbit hole in the hunt show thing, but we've interviewed hundreds of the best deer hunters in the Southeast, like local legends.
Yeah.
Like Jacob and I are not the best deer hunters by any means, but the people that we interview are some of the best. They really are. And they're not TV guys. These are guys that are shooting nice deer on public ground every year. But if you look at their walls, like my good friend Michael Perry, he holds the state record for muzzleloader bucks, or muzzleloader buck in Alabama. He killed a 196-inch buck on public ground in Alabama. And if you go to his house, he's got his house is like a Bass Pro Shops. Yeah. I mean, taxidermy. He's got bears, moose, everything. But if you look at his whitetail wall, he's got a wall slam full of 115, 120-inch deer.
Yeah.
And then he's got several that are over the 140 mark, like probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
But that's like a whole lifetime of him being a great hunter. And what people don't realize is you watch these shows, man, and people are hammering 150-inch deer all the time. That's just not a common – like what the most successful guys in Alabama are killing. If you kill a 115-inch deer in Alabama every year, you are a upper echelon deer hunter.
Yes.
That's just reality, because our 4.5, 5.5-year-old bucks are 115, 120 inches a lot of times. Every once in a while you get that 150 or bigger. But that's a common theme, man, across – we know guys who've killed 170s, 190s, 180s in Alabama, and that's usually like they kill one of those in their life.
Yeah. Maybe
2.
Oh, yeah.
If they're lucky.
Well, you said it best. Like I think the guys they're just natural born killers. They're woodsmen first. Like that's what there's one thread in between all those guys, and they're all woodsmen. They know how to read terrain. They know what thermals are doing, and they just get in there, they get out, and you will not hear them brag about it. You don't really see it on their wall. Like you'll see it on their walls, but you don't see it on their Facebook walls a lot. Like they're just natural killers.
Yeah, that's pretty common. We're always looking for the guys who aren't on social media.
Yep.
And some of our best, even the guys who are on social media, some of our best interviews, if you go look through their Facebook page or whatever, you might see a couple bucks, but like their biggest deer are not on social media.
No.
Yeah.
That's why I stopped posting so long ago, because I'm like, it's not like just get out there and hunt. Just like be about the hunt. But,
yeah, man, go enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Our last segment, I leave it open to you. This is your time to either, promote your shows, tell people where to go, and provide people like, what's your best advice for like young hunters? What would you say that looks like for Andrew Maxwell of the Outdoors, the Southern Outdoorsmen?
Best advice for young hunters is like, man, keep it simple. Like go out there and figure it out for yourself. And what I mean by that is you can listen to a podcast, you can watch videos, and you can get ideas that will shorten your learning curve. But at the end of the day, I mentioned Michael Perry earlier. Michael Perry, Jamie McKay, Tony Myers, these are guys that they all live in a similar area. They've all known each other for a long time. They've all learned from each other, and they hunt similar, but they're each of them are their own hunter. Like they do things differently. Even though they hunt the same area, they have learned from each other in the past. They each kind of took something from their buddies and applied it, but ultimately made it their own.
Yeah.
So like you can listen to a lot of tactic talk and it's really helpful. But at the end of the day, it's just like with the e-scouting thing. At the end of the day, you can find what looks good on the map, but you got to go figure it out yourself, put your boots on the ground. Same thing with the deer hunting, man. Like you can get kind of sucked into a wormhole with the tactics talk, and it's good. It can help unless you overdo it. You know, if you just consume tactics and you're constantly trying new things and you're never figuring it out for yourself, then you're not going to be very successful. And Jacob and I have definitely went through that since we started the podcast. We talk to a new guy every week. And so we're constantly like flipping around tactics and trying this and then trying that. But when we're successful is when we hammer down on one thing, concentrate on it, and kind of make it our own, figure it out for ourselves, and keep it simple. Keep it simple. It's hard, but it's not complicated.
Yep. All right. Where do they find out more about the Southern Outdoorsman? And before you get to that, what is your go-to caliber right now for your deer gun?
Right now, I'm shooting a 7mm 08. I like it. It's just flat shooting.
Yep.
It's a lightweight gun, low recoil. My wife can shoot it. My daughter will be able to shoot it. But I grew up shooting a 30-06, and I love a 30-06. And the gun that I'm actually going to hunt with this year is the gun I grew up hunting with. It's a Remington Model 721. My grandfather bought it in like the 50s, early 50s. It predates the 700. I killed my first probably 15 deer with that rifle. And this year I'm dusting it off and bringing that back out in the woods. So I'm super excited about shooting another deer with that gun, man.
That's awesome. Where do they find out more?
Man, we're all over the place. You can find the podcast anywhere that podcasts are found, Apple, Spotify. It's just The Southern Outdoorsman, and then YouTube as well. So we transitioned over to being a video podcast a couple years back. Yep. And so now everything's on YouTube, and that's been huge for us, man. We put a lot into the video podcast as far as production quality. We travel to all our guests, do everything in person. So if you're going to watch, go to YouTube, man. That's where you get the full experience is YouTube. And you get to see the deer that we're talking about a lot of times, you know, if we're at a guy's house or whatever. So
that's cool.
Check us out, man. YouTube. And, of course, we got the website, southernoutdoorsman.com.
Awesome. Well, I sure do appreciate it, Andrew. That is it for us here at Gun Talk Hunt. As always, folks, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.